Hello coaches, welcome back to part 2 of our Modern Soccer Coach Club visit to Fiorentina in Italy. Part 1 was out last week. It was about the environment and the culture with Mr. Angeloni. Part 2 is about the methodology and the youth development process at the club. This one is a big one. We are joined by Mirko Mazzantini, the technical director from U8 to U15. Phenomenal background in the game and is kindly going to give us an insight into the way that the club manage development and results, how the club structures sessions from the youth ages, how they implement learning modules, how their payment structure is organised for the youth coaches in order to retain them and reward them, and how to also grow a feeling of community spirit, not just club spirit, with their coaches. Phenomenal insight. I really appreciate Mirko's time and his insight. And I have to say this as well, one of the really powerful and inspiring parts of going to these clubs is whenever you're around people like Mirko, they are so humble and they are so generous with their time. You can see why they stay in these jobs for a while, and you can see why clubs value them so much. Something that I wish we could shine a light on a little bit more, to be honest, in Modern Soccer Coach, is that people like Mirko, when you're in a position at this club and you're working with people, how brilliant they are in communication and how hospitable they are when you arrive. And it probably sums them up that when we're putting this video together, he was really deliberate about if anyone had any questions, and he said, listen Gary, put my email on the video as well in case anyone wants to reach out. So for the first time ever, we have someone's email address on our Modern Soccer Coach video, and it's someone at the stature of Mirko Mazzantini. That tells you a little bit about the culture, that tells you a little bit about the hospitality and Mirko's passion for coach and player development. Outstanding. You're going to feel it in this interview and you're going to get a ton of takeaways. Thanks so much for Mirko for jumping on. Please make sure you like, please make sure you subscribe. Before we start, again, a massive thanks to our sponsors who helped us make this happen. St Mary's University is currently recruiting students for September 2025 onto its innovative performance football coaching master's degree. You can study anywhere in the world with their full online degree and full flexibility for 1, 2 or 3 years. Modules include strategies and tactics, skill acquisition and expertise, leading people in teams, Fiorentina no better example, performance coaching and performance sciences, plus the opportunity to conduct your own research as part of the dissertation. It's a new exciting program. I highly recommend you checking out. Ashley's doing some brilliant work at St Mary's. They've also got some information webinars coming up, and we'll put the information below. Massive thanks to St Mary's. Please check them out. All right, Fiorentina Youth Academy, let's go. Okay, just a little background before we get started. Mirko Mazzantini started his 15th year at the club this year. He's the technical director of U8s through to U15s, which is an extremely important role at Fiorentina. Winning and development have gone hand in hand in this club in recent years. The club has been in the final of the Primavera Cup 5 times in the last 6 years. Not only have the club experienced success with results at Youth Academy, they have also been successful in progressing players into the first team. Tommaso Martinelli, Luca Ranieri, the captain, Pietro Camuso and Nicolo Zaniolo, all progressing into the first team. There's a lot happening in this club. In March 2025, the first event related to their international projects also took place, with coaches from the US spending time with the Fiorentina staff. The sign in the building says play to be different, and in today's world where football is becoming a little generic, I wanted to ask Mirko what the keys are to developing skillful and creative decision makers who can compete at the highest level in Serie A. If you want the Italian version of this interview, you can get it on the link below. I'll put a link. This is the version with the interpreter. Here is Mirko. Enjoy. Okay, I got my espresso, my water, my questions. Mirko, thank you so much.
Grazie.
I appreciate the hospitality and I appreciate your patience as I got lost getting here.
It's a great pleasure having you here and an honor to talk about what we're doing.
Let's go. This is the question I'm actually really excited to ask. It's the first question. How would you describe a Fiorentina player in terms of attitude, values and character?
We need our players to have character, personality, mentality, because this city, the fans, the club have very high expectations. So we need players who are able to express their football, their game, on the pitch without worrying too much. The players need to respect the shirt, the Viola shirt, because we think we're a very big club, and the players have to realize this.
Fantastic, fantastic. How does the methodology change or advance as the player comes in very young, under 8, under 15? How does it look?
We started with Director Angeloni. We started a new technical project 5 years ago, and we divided the growth of the players in 3 different phases. The first one, so when they're at the start, so before the age of 11, it's individual. So they focus on one-on-one, taking one-on-one other players to express and improve their individual abilities. The second phase, between the age of 11 and 13, is based on the collective game. So we explain to the youngsters, we show them that it's a team sport and how to interact with one another. And then the third phase, after the age of 13, is the tactical phase. So we introduce them both to individual and team tactics, both with the ball and without the ball. But of course, until the age of 15, we don't get into this stage. This is the very last bit.
As that grows, consistency, quality is always high. How do you manage to keep both really high as players go through the journey?
So it's very important to have a constant improvement in terms of forming the staff continuously with knowledge and novelties. So my role personally is to maintain this, so to always have courses and new lessons and whatnot for all the staff, be it coaches, collaborators, and just general staff. They need to know their specific role, their individual specific role, and know what they do within the broader technical project. So the formation and the knowledge is very, very important. Since our start, we had over 80 meetings, both internally and externally, with courses for forming the staff, internally, of course, with one another, and externally, even with other clubs internationally and in Italy. On a weekly basis, I meet with everybody. We have weekly meetings just to keep track of everything that's going on, and even on a daily basis, I make my own checks constantly to make sure that everything's going in the right direction.
Fantastic, fantastic. How important is it that players take ownership and responsibility for their journey as they progress?
I think it's absolutely fundamental. Because there's a lot of wrong messages going around in football, but what I can say after 25 years in the business is that professionalism and hard work are absolutely vital in order to become a professional football player. In today's football, you can't just base your career on skills and technicality, but you need to be a professional in everything you do.
Hello coaches, we'll take a quick break here. Again, huge thanks to our sponsors. St Mary's University Performance Football Coaching Masters is a unique opportunity to learn from world-renowned academics and industry experts whilst making significant strides to develop your career and bolster your knowledge of coaching theories. Their course content has been tailored to reflect the diverse football coaching environments across the world. They have worked with industry experts, alumni, designated football partners who have contributed to module design that ensures the students are always getting that industry relevant knowledge. You will need to have achieved a UEFA B, USSF B or equivalent coaching qualification from your home country to apply, as well as having either an undergraduate degree or a significant football experience as a player or a coach. If you'd like to learn more, they have a series of online information webinars that are coming up over the next few months, and that will provide you with more detail about the finances, the module content, and further details of how to apply. Link will be in the comments below. Please check them out, and huge thank you to St Mary's for the support. Love it. Italian football has a reputation of structure, organisation, but you've also developed creative players have come through that. A lot of countries, America, Britain, struggle with creativity and structure. How do you do it in Italy?
Yeah, of course, I think it's down to DNA and culture as well, because as Italians, we're very creative in every aspect of society, and that applies to football as well. And of course, being Fiorentina, in Italy, we have a very profound tactical knowledge and understanding and culture, but at the same time, like I mentioned earlier, we work a lot on the individual skills of players, especially at an early age.
A lot of US coaches, a lot of coaches listening will be very interested in how sessions are organized here and the flow. How would you describe the flow of a youth training session at Fiorentina?
Obviously, I could talk about it for hours because we have a very profound organization, but try to keep it short. What we did is divide each training session in individual blocks, and each coach can use these blocks to create his ideal training session, also based on the day of the week. So what these blocks are is there's an analytical one, then there's a recreation of simple situations on the pitch, small side game, positional game, and then the final game where they actually play each other. Partita a tema, so a game with a specific theme added to it, which I imagine is like tactical situations, defense against attack against defense, that kind of thing. What this enables us to do is to, obviously they can use these different blocks, the coaches, and move them around as they prefer, is to have modules that enable us to simplify the whole training process. I think what the most important one is, for me personally, is the analytical block, because what we do is work on the individual player's abilities without the opponent. So we focus on the individuality of the player without putting him in a match situation. This is an ideological battle that I carry personally, because there's different schools of thought, and here at Fiorentina we believe that before putting the player in an actual match situation with opponents, we want to work very well on him as an individual.
Interested, yeah. This gets a lot of people thinking and talking. Is that more than you're saying that you kind of battle that? Is that more unopposed skill work, or is it more positional specific work?
Yeah, both, really, because what we do is work very hard on every technical aspect of the game, making sure the player can develop every little characteristic, but at the same time we also work on their tactical positioning on the pitch, obviously, like we said, without opponents, but knowing where they have to go on the pitch. Obviously, with the youngsters, this bit is less profound because they have less awareness of where they are on the pitch. But for us at Fiorentina, individual skill is so important. Yeah, like Director Angeloni was saying, we have a lot of people in our staff. It's very numerous. And this enables us to really focus on every individual aspect of the player. For example, we have some player-to-ball coaches, so that's focusing on really the technical skills on the ball. And then, for example, we have some positional coaches that work on each player's individual position on the pitch. For us, it's very, very important, and having such a large staff enables us to focus very well on the individuals.
Mr. Angeloni also talked about the different styles that the teams can play at Fiorentina. How do you align between an identity and flexibility?
So our philosophy is to try and dominate the game, so hold possession, because it makes us better, it makes us stronger, so it's a way of winning games at the end of the day. What we want to do is get the most out of the player, so we want to place him in the best possible position. So for example, take a system, the 4-3-3 doesn't have a number 10, a trequartista. But of course, if we have a strong number 10 amongst our players, what we do is we adapt the system to the player and not the player to the system. Because what we're doing really, I think the mantra is we are creating footballers.
Again, we talked a little bit earlier at the start about it's a big club, players have to understand that there. Pressure, I would imagine, in the community as well, fans, passion. How do you support the player psychologically with that?
It's very important that the coach and the staff work on this aspect. What we want the players to do is learn how to make mistakes, how to take responsibility, take risks, especially in the age between 8 and 11. What we work on is giving them the chance to risk in every area of the pitch, so take a lot of risks, because we want to create players who know how to take risks and therefore know how to make mistakes as well, because that's the only way to have them when you're playing in front of 30,000-40,000 fans at the Stadio Artemio Franchi in the first team, to not be scared. And let me add, this is thanks to what Director Angeloni wants, because he doesn't care about results. As you know, in Italy there is a great culture on results. Personally, I'd add one of the biggest cultures, result cultures in the world. But this is not what we have at Fiorentina in the youth sector. What we focus on is on the growth of players, and then that brings better results on the pitch as well. But what's very important is that the coaches don't have that pressure to win matches, but they can focus on the development of players.
Fantastic. When the coach is doing in the training session and they have freedom and flexibility and you're looking at developing those skills, is there any coaching behaviours from a coach that you want them to be energetic, loud, quiet, or what do you look for there?
We want a mix, because we obviously want coaches to participate very much, but this without limiting players, but giving them an opportunity to grow, because what we see is we see victory as a growing opportunity, but we don't want to have that fixation that you have to win. So what we want is coaches who give players the freedom to express themselves, and so having coaches transmitting that winning mentality, like we do want to win, but as an opportunity to grow and not as a limit, like that's the only thing we want. And obviously every coach needs different qualities depending on how old the youngsters are. And it's one of our focuses, one of our jobs is to find the right coach for the right age, so the right professional. And for example, if with the under-8 you need someone who's very welcoming and knows how to talk to kids, because you're talking about very young kids. With the under-14s, you can have someone who's a bit more participative and more outgoing to the players, because obviously you're talking about two very different ages.
I read that you structure salaries in the club so that the younger coaches are well compensated as the older ones. Is that true, and how important is that?
I think that's a big victory for us at the club, because usually what you have is salaries that go up with the age of the players, but we've got the same salary for everybody, obviously at an entry level. Then if you're in the club for longer, you might have a higher salary. But this enabled us to move coaches around based on their qualities. So, if you had someone at the under-13s who looked better with the under-8s, we could just switch them around in an initial phase. And that obviously was very important, to have the best professional for the right age.
The club is very much involved in the community as well. How important is it that coaches are connected to the community and also give back as well?
It's very, very important. Of course, when 5 years ago we started our project, we also started a project with affiliated clubs. We now have 50 affiliated clubs in Tuscany, so it's a very deep-rooted project we have, and we try and get coaches who come from the community here in Florence and Tuscany, because obviously they really breathe the values of the club. They know them.
Let's talk about the affiliate club program. 5 years. Again, common question: how do you keep standards high in all those programs?
Well, we have 5 people dedicated to the project and to the standards you're talking about. We believe we're one of the top affiliated club programs in Italy. We believe very much in what we're doing, because what we get from it is clubs who are closer to Fiorentina in terms of affection, in terms of scouting, in terms of values. So we're very, very satisfied, and we see how well we're doing, even based on the fact that we get 3-4 requests a week from clubs who want to become affiliated. But we have a limit to how many we can actually accept, because we obviously want to maintain the standard very high. And I'm not saying that the ones who request aren't at the standard, but we don't necessarily have the staff to maintain that standard, and so we can only focus at the moment on 50 clubs.
In the next 5-10 years, does that grow, or how do you manage that growth, and how do you judge success?
Well, what we've done is transform most of these affiliated clubs in formation centers, which is a step forward. We're talking about the 50 in Tuscany and 70 in total in Italy, because we also have another 20 affiliated clubs in the rest of Italy, so outside of the region. So we have these formation centers. I don't know if Centro di Formazione translates to formation center in English. That is something to look at, but just to give you an idea, it's like we'll call it formation center for the time being. We want that these clubs with a formation center, these affiliated clubs, train with our same principles and values. So that was obviously a big step, because you're kind of expanding out of the Viola Park. Obviously in the future we want to raise the level in terms of quality of the service we offer to affiliated clubs and what we get from them, what we expect from them. How do we value success? Well, just to give you a number, 33% of the players at Fiorentina now, so roughly a third, come from affiliated clubs.
Wow. International projects has just been launched as well. On the way in, Atlanta, people were here last week, people from Utah. So how is that, what's the goals of that project as it grows?
Yeah, so thanks to this present, I want to call it, that is the Viola Park, this facility, we're trying to export the Fiorentina model abroad as well. So since March 2025, we've become operational with these international projects. So we have the chance of letting coaches come in and learn and have courses and formation here at the Viola Park, or athletes to come here and be coached by our technical staff. And then what we want to do is also not only import from abroad, but also move abroad ourselves. So we're looking for affiliated clubs abroad, obviously with a focus on what we can give them at a technical level. We are looking at the possibility of doing some camps or some clinics. And what we've seen, because we're Florence, Fiorentina, we have a history and we're known abroad as well, is that we're receiving a lot of requests from abroad, which is great. We're very, very happy.
Fantastic. Okay, last two. 15 years in the club. That's amazing. What's the one biggest change that you've seen in youth development in your experiences here?
Yeah, if I have to tell you the biggest change I've seen, I am so sure about the answer, is that now football has become more and more a very individual based, not sport, but like in terms of training, and that's what we're looking to. So to put it in an extreme, version. Going forward in the future, we could expect almost a coach per player. Obviously, that's very difficult to see, but what we had 15 years ago was that the coach had a very global view of the team, whereas now we work very hard on every individual player. Obviously, a lot of coaches say, we've heard the sentence many times, every player is the same. I think that's a mistake, not because they don't need the same rules. Obviously, in a team you have the same rules, but because we need to treat every player individually, because every player is different. So even both on a mental level, in terms of how you treat them, how you speak to them, how you coach them, what you work on, every player has an individual coaching system different to the others.
Last question. There's a lot of coaches who would aspire to get to work at a club, never mind 15 years as a leader at a club. What advice do you have for coaches who want to climb the ladder and get to this type of environment?
Yeah, I think passion is the main thing, because I'm not here necessarily for what I know, but because of the passion I've had, and then I've learned things going forward. I started at a very small club, then I was at a professional club for 10 years, and then I made it to Fiorentina. So what got me through everything is the passion. And then the other thing, which is slightly underneath, but also very, very important, is the will to improve, keep learning. I think in this current world, you can't just say, I'm good because I'm at Fiorentina. You need to keep learning. You can learn from everyone, and you need to just keep studying and updating and maintain that level of interest for knowledge. So I think these are the two main things.
Amazing. Yeah, I see on your LinkedIn the passion for conferences, people, growth. Is that something that motivates you as well, inspires you?
Yeah, for me it's absolutely crucial, and I want to conclude saying that when Director Angeloni asked me to interrupt, to finish my previous job here, which was being a coach, and become technical director of the pre-agonistic at Fiorentina, obviously I had some knowledge, but I had to learn a lot. So what I did is I called the people from another 20-30 clubs, and I kind of got some knowledge from everyone, and that's how I started in my new role. And I think what we have here is a club that is very open to sharing information and knowledge, and I think that's great.
Amazing. Mirko, thank you so much. This was fantastic. Grazie, and thank you for everything, and this has been amazing. All right, coaches, massive thanks again to Mirko for jumping on. How good was that? You don't often get the opportunity to go inside a club and ask questions like, how do you structure payment for your youth staff? What does the methodology look like as the player advances? What psychological support? And for an academy that is doing so well and producing players for the first team, how do you make it process driven rather than outcome of tournaments, leagues, first team appearances? But Fiorentina do that, and again, it probably goes a little bit deeper. I was there for a day. You probably need a little longer to really get inside the culture, but you can feel it in one day, and you can feel it in ways that I talked about at the start of the show. The way Mirko interacts with his staff, interacts with guests, the questions he asks about coach development in the United States, the questions he asks about our audience. Again, we always think about elite performance, of being in your bubble and going on the grind every single day for 24 hours and getting rewarded for that. But the more visits I take and the more I'm around real elite environments that are producing top class footballers, the more I see that the people that work there have such an open mind to people, performance and the game outside their own environment. Now, a lot of that is probably informal, a lot of that is probably unstructured, a lot of that is probably just natural, where they have a love of the game, they have a love of people, and they're naturally curious. But it goes a long way when you start to think about staffing, when you start to think about environments, and you start to think about the leaders in this game. Again, it's really inspiring to see people who love the game, who love coaching, who love coaches, and who love the ups and downs of this industry. Football development is a really tough world. It's very hard. The variables that you're actually in control of are very small. So to make an impact in that there, you probably have to embrace the fact that there's ups and downs. Players are probably going to be inconsistent. Young players are going to be super inconsistent because they're growing and learning. But these people embrace that, and these people do that with such an enthusiasm that, again, jumps out to you as soon as you meet these people. You feel that energy, and that was probably the biggest takeaway from Fiorentina. Yes, the methodology was highly impressive. Yes, the conversations with Mr. Angeloni, the conversations with Mirko, the conversations with Paolo over lunch were highly informative, but there's a feeling when you get there that you can't get on a laptop, and it inspires and it energizes you, but it also makes you think, yeah, maybe you could do this or maybe you could do that, and the ideas suddenly flood to your head. Your imagination starts to go and your mind is expanded because of the way these people operate and the level that they operate and how they operate as well, again, with that level of energy and that level of kindness. So massive thank you to Fiorentina. Again, we put Mirko's email in the interview, as you probably saw. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to them, and please keep an eye on Fiorentina's programs in the future, because this is a club that's moving places, but this is a club that's also giving a lot back to the football community. So a massive thanks to everyone there. Before you leave, please like, please subscribe. Thanks so much for the support. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.